welcome to Dread and Breakfast, the breakfast portion of our podcast. This is where we talk about the game we just played like narcissists to justify the fun pun in our podcast name. I'm Marissa.
I'm Christine.
I'm Fabrice.
I'm Jacob.
And welcome to our breakfast today. Christine has brought a beautiful, horrifying food item that we will get to.
I'm looking at it right now and I am just terrified.
It's
so orange.
It's a sight, and we're going to unpack that later. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about the Dread we just played to try to unpack it, get a sense of where everyone's at. And try to get better from it. And maybe this is interesting, maybe it's not, but stay tuned anyway and download it because we love you.
It's our off week, guys.
It's our off week and we're bored and we're great people, I guess.
But this also is a chance for us to share more about the world building because we do quite a bit of world building not recorded in the podcast.
Yes.
Because it's boring.
It's boring.
I think it's interesting. I love world building. That's like 90% of the writing I do.
I think it will be interesting in this context, in the afterwards, this is what happened. I think when it's happening, I cut a lot of it out.
Yeah, you just want the story in the moment. And I think this is like what was like going on behind the scenes and like why.
We promise this is going to be good. Please keep listening.
But yeah, so like behind the scenes wise, I was fucking terrified to run this. It was.
You did so good,
though.
It's a very good job.
There's a lot I would have done differently, I think. Bob ran a Dread for us as like a proof of concept. And it was really good and it was really scary. So I was really afraid to kind of like follow that. And I couldn't tell if it was scary. Like I was writing it like, tuberculosis.
It definitely was.
What? Like how do you
when you were telling that dream that Roy had of when he woke up just like covered in dirt, like that scared me. Like, and we were just like sitting in the dining room. Like that one was very frightening.
In the dining, like we've got a light on. Like it's not. We're
surrounded by friends.
Yeah,
like,
it's not like
what's a dining room? We're in a studio, right?
We're not.
LOL.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry. We're in our good studio.
LOL. But yeah, Jacob, I was also afraid of that because on your character sheet, I think I gave you guys very purposeful questions. Like Christine's question was like, what medicine do you have to take at 9? Because I knew, okay, there's a Ouija board. There's a good chance things are going to get like goofed. And Derek, it was like, why'd you bring a Ouija board? Because that's a thing you need to use. And Jacob, I asked, like, what's a nightmare that you have? And like you gave me this really cool nightmare and I was so afraid.
Wrote that?
So I wrote like 1/10 of what you heard in the podcast. I wrote like the skeleton and Marissa filled it in with lots of fleshy, gushy detail.
And I was so afraid that I wouldn't do homage to that.
No, you made it much better.
Oh, thanks, guys.
It was more scary than when I had it.
that was a real dream you had?
Kind of.
Oh.
It was really scary. I'm so sorry that was real.
I'm sorry she made it worse.
If anything, though, that's helpful
fine.
because then he's like, oh, the thing my brain came up with was very tame compared to the thing Marissa's brain came up with.
But I guess my question for you all is like, how did you feel about the overall like experience? Because I think my biggest complaint was pacing.
I think that's our fault.
Well,
Yeah, no, I would say that's our
How
fault.
long can it take us to get a broom?
so long.
I feel like that's gonna be like a running gag for us from now on, is like whenever we're in an episode and it's taking us a while to do that, it's like, oh, are we getting another broom?
Yeah, I feel like that's good.
That's a
like
good thing.
any tool, it took us like an hour to get brooms,
Yeah, it took us
shovels.
Anytime we needed to change rooms
Latex
or
gloves.
locations.
Oh, we need to go from the kitchen to the dining room.
How will
well,
we get
buckle
there?
up for a 10-minute ride, guys.
Let's have a conversation for 20 minutes.
Let's talk about every step we take along the way.
I feel like at least the challenge for me as someone playing a coward was wanting to be able to play that without dragging us down and holding us back, and also sometimes wanting to push us forward but not knowing how to do that without completely breaking character.
There's also the tension of being a coward but wanting to make a fun podcast
Yes.
that's interesting to listen to.
I think you all did a really good job as far as that was concerned. Like, I think Roy balanced out Derek very well, because Derek and especially Grace at the end were very much like, let's fucking go. And Roy was like, guys, the fuck? No. And I think he did great. I liked the tension there in character because it added to like the spooky tension. But yeah, so like, do you guys have any questions for me in terms of, yeah, like what happened, what could have happened? Because there are things that like you all didn't uncover, like you didn't go in the attic, you didn't really go into
there was
the
an
cottage.
attic?
Yeah.
I missed that.
That's okay.
Bells didn't ring there, so we didn't, you know.
Nothing was drawing us there.
Nothing was drawing us to the attic.
Yeah, you all did a lot of things I did not expect you to do.
Oh, like what?
Not the order. Well, like you guys were like, oh, sweet, hedge maids, let's go. And I was like, okay, I guess you can. So it was kind of bullshit getting you guys back to the house, but like in my head, how I justified it was, you know, like Colin has seen a bunch of people coming in this out of this house for years and they always just leave or get scared, and he wanted to draw you back in to tell you what was happening before you just go in there, see a cemetery, and you're like, okay, whatever.
Sure, we definitely wouldn't have like followed him or like dug up a grave if we didn't
like,
know
it's
what was
kind
going
of,
on.
It was kind of a big ask,
Yeah,
you know?
there was a definite big discovery when we were able to piece together that, oh shit, she's been married alive.
dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
For me, I had questions about like the end.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Roy and I, or Jacob and I, skipped over a bit. Like I feel like we hop, skipped, and jumped at the end over some content.
No. There was always like the option to run from Grave Robber Guy, and especially because he killed Grace, I think that was a good, like that made sense. The other options that you guys had is if you would have went into the caretaker's cottage, you would have, like, it would have been abandoned because Gregory had been dead for a bit.
Oh.
Because if you recall in episode 1, Beverly made a comment that was like, oh yeah, I haven't seen Gregory in a while, it's weird.
That's right.
Yeah. So he'd been dead for a while, and if you would have went, which is why the door was open, because when Beverly went in there is when she got killed too. Bad things. But
So it's a good thing we didn't go in there.
Nobody ever goes in. Nobody ever comes out.
But if you went in, you would have found Gregory had like a little shrine with like rosaries and holy water and stuff to try to keep the gardener ghost out, that eventually he just got like caught off guard. So like you could have taken the holy water and like fucked him up. You guys just didn't find it. So you didn't really have a lot of options.
So Gregory and the gardener are two separate.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. If you had looked at the picture more closely.
Oh, the gardener's the gardener from...
Yes, the old timey days.
Okay.
Yeah, the gardener was the guy who tried to dig them up originally and was hung, which is why his neck was all goofed.
Bad.
And why, you had the noose around your neck when you went into the shed, and why you saw Jacob, why you saw the hanged man silhouette. That was that. There were like...
That guy was working with the doctor?
It was a noose.
Sort of, yes. I mean, yes, 100% yes.
And so what was the doctor's motivation for wanting to dig them up?
The doctor didn't want them like dead. Like he wasn't killing them. He was trying to save them. But he was like, hey, free bodies. Let's cut them open, see what guts look like. I don't know what the human body does. Because like at the time, like resurrection men like were selling bodies to medical schools and doctors for like legitimate research. And that's kind of partially his thing. The doctor has a whole other kind of motivation with the ORCS crew that I'm not going to get into because that is Fob's zone, because ORCS is a Fob's creation and will be reappearing probably.
Dun, dun.
Nah, we're done with that. That's never coming back ever.
Yeah,
Lies
okay.
and slaves.
And it's never come up in anything that hasn't aired either.
Yeah, but ORCS was in the OG original Dread that Fob ran for us, and it's kind of a unsettling, pervasive theme that I wanted to continue, but
Some might call it a season arc.
a season arc, perhaps.
The only other thing that was continued from the first episode, that the unaired episode, is that I also died in that
I'm
first
so
one.
sorry.
No, I just
have a
need to get
theme
better
now.
at the game that is similar to but legally distinct from Jenga. I will say, the nice thing about dying is that you get to listen to all the nice vignettes that people come up with for you after you've died. if you ever want to know how people feel about you, even in a fictional world, just die in the game that you're playing. And
Yikes, bad advice. But no, I was so afraid that the gardener stuff wouldn't land because there wasn't as much lead up to it. Like, I knew there were two distinct ghosts operating, but you all didn't, you know? Like, so all the next stuff was this guy, and all the Bloody Bell stuff was the mom and the kid. But I was so afraid that it was going to be like, well, who the fuck is this guy? That doesn't make sense, you know? So
I don't think it'll ever come out in the podcast because we didn't have like a moment in the podcast, but because I didn't know like when to insert that. But like once you introduced the second ghost, it was like things started to come together because why was there dirt? And like it didn't make sense that Colin would be putting dirt on people. And so when it's the gardener, and he's got a shovel, it's, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. This guy's like digging people up. And I guess the dirt from that, he poured on Roy. Man, that's got to be...
Oh, see, I...
double disturbing.
I always intended the dirt to be from... I guess there's three ghosts, right? Colin was trying to get you to dig up his mom because she was trapped. Lady McHale was the one talking through the Ouija board who kept saying dark. And she's the one who was manufacturing the dirt because she's like, yo, I'm underground. Can you help a girl out? But there was just some other things that you just didn't get to. Like if you went into the attic, you would have found more of their stuff. Like you would have found Colin's toys. You would have found a lot of her, just more like stuff about her. Like she had diary pages and stuff like that. Which
that would have been cool.
Yeah, like it wasn't necessary, you know, but...
Just character building, world building.
Yeah, I think I did a whoopsie in making it super complicated.
No,
I think you made it complicated.
My purview. But yeah, do you have any other questions for me? Because I have lots of questions for you.
Oh.
What happens to the bad man? How do we get rid of the
bad guy?
Ghost?
There were a lot of options. Like one was the holy water if you had taken it from the shrine in the house, or if you had done anything to his neck, because that was how he died. So he was like vulnerable to it, which is why he wore a scarf to kind of hide that.
Okay.
See, these little details are like,
yeah,
what makes
everything.
it good.
And that was another thing I struggled with, is that especially in the exposition hellscape, that was the first episode, is there were so many details, but all of them mattered. Like,
were lilacs important?
When lilacs last in the dooryard bloomed.
What?
It's a poem about death. And the fleetingness of life, cool. I think. Don't quote me on that or else I'll die.
It was a poem about death and the fleetingness of life.
Probably.
Marissa.
Thanks.
2020.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but so like everything was purposeful, but I had to make it easily overlooked so that only in hindsight it made sense.
Check.
Yay.
Because I am a dumb.
No, you're beautiful. And I would actually...
But a dumb.
No.
Oh, no, you're pretty.
No, like a beautiful soul. You dullard? That's no... That anyway.
Exactly.
No, Bob's a dullard. But I would like to know, like, what was it like playing your characters? Because I just came up with a questionnaire and you all brought all of them to life in ways that I did not expect, but I absolutely adore.
I really clearly realized that I was never popular in high school, and so my attempts to behave like a popular teenager were just like absurd. Like I have no idea if any of that was like anything that a real like quote unquote cool kid would do, because I have no experience being that person.
It worked for me. It was like it blended like enough of the line. I don't know. It was enough for me to like suspend my disbelief.
I tried to just play it as like being as people pleasing as I could. Like clearly my true nature is not like the popular kid stereo like archetype, but trying to toe that line and like maintain whatever social standing I did have between the two groups of friends.
I thought it was like really genuine because like Grace didn't feel like a cliche. She felt to me like someone who was she felt just like someone who was like trying to be liked by everybody and figure out who she is and all of that sort of thing. Especially, and I don't know if this made it in because this is in the future and I don't edit. Thank you, Jacob. But like with the like the prom scene, like with her talking to Chad and then her talking to Roy were just two very different faces of her, and I think that really just added a level of just sympathy and empathy with her.
Real talk, I loved playing those scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
Bullshit.
No,
All bullshit.
they were wonderful.
I genuinely
Marissa says
did.
She didn't have what Marissa's saying is she didn't have notes for those. She just ad-libbed.
I had bullet points. That remember when I was furiously typing like 5 minutes before we started?
Yeah.
It was that.
That's what you came up with? Like 5 minutes before? That was so good.
Yeah, it was good.
It reset the stage perfectly and brought us back into the world and filled out our backstories a little more, except for me. I don't really have a backstory.
Yeah, you did.
Not really.
I think you did. We'll get to you and your self-deprecation in a moment.
Okay.
But I know that like it had been a week since we recorded like in real life, and I know like
We can't tell them that.
We record these all in one take, one session.
yeah, LOL. But no, I know that like I sometimes struggle with getting back into character, especially when shit was about to pop off. So I just wanted like a fun way to get you guys back into character that wasn't just like a recap, because that isn't the same thing.
I thought it was a good way to give more of a backstory on characters who, because of the nature of the game that we're playing,
Right.
are, you're not going to see Derek again because these characters aren't like reoccurring. It's one character per story.
They're more vignettes, and it's also like you see such a narrow glimpse of them because the time is so short and it's such a high intensity, like whatever. But Fob, what was it like playing the man, the myth, the legend, the ghost hunter extraordinaire, Derek?
I don't get to play enough role-playing games, y'all. I run a lot, but I don't play a lot, and this was really, really fun. I really liked playing. I don't think I'm good at it, and I worry that I talked way too much.
But Jacob edits it, so it's okay.
Well, I
No
still
offense.
think I talked a lot, and I think I really need to work on that as a player.
I think it played well to your character though, because you were like you were the ghost guy. So when shit started happening, of course you would be like, guys, here's what we do. Like we record this, we figure this out, like blah, blah, blah. Like I thought that it worked well.
Okay, I'm glad. I picked a character who it would make sense to talk more because I know how I am.
Makes sense.
I read through the questions. I'm like, oh, okay, I get a Ouija board. Nice. And then I had an idea for like what this character could be because my thought was, wow, there are only like two types of people that bring a Ouija board to something like this. And that's either you are into it or you're an asshole and you're just trying to like freak out your friends, or you're trying to like
Butts.
Yeah.
Can I be honest? Like when I wrote the questionnaire, I really thought you were going to be like a Chad person who's like, oh yeah, this is just a fun fucking prank. Fuck these nerds. And like you went in such a different direction with it, and it was so fucking fun.
Yeah. I think that's, for me as a player, that's the fun of Dread, is that you get to make a character. You can be so much more, I think, experimental with a character. I guess I should say both Marissa and I have a lot more experience playing role-playing games than Jacob and Christine.
I've never played a role-playing game before this.
Yeah, this is my, fourth session of any role-playing game?
And you guys are phenomenal. Like,
Yeah,
Lies.
you guys are doing a great job. You're doing
listen.
really well. Trust me. But when you're playing in a long campaign, unless you're playing in a non-serious game where people are okay with you just like switching personalities on a dime, or like, the thing I really like about Dread that I really do enjoy about this game is that I can make a character that I don't know how I'm going to love them or if I'm going to love being them. And Dread sort of gives me permission to pick a character and not worry too much about it because I'm probably going to die, or, they might die or whatever.
yes, mortality.
It's so short of a game, and it's a one shot mostly. I don't have to worry about being stuck in a character that I don't like, because even if there's something about a character that I'm not a huge fan of, it's over in a day. I think that's really freeing and nice. And you don't get that in like a longer form RPG.
Yeah, Jacob, so what was it like for you playing Roy? Because I loved the energy Roy brought of just like, there's dirt, fuck, this is awful. Like, it was so
Great.
good.
Okay,
That was
good.
so
I'm
fun.
glad because, like I said earlier, I felt like I was really holding us back a lot of the time, and that's a lot of just me being new to all this.
I think that was very good because, like, if, you know, everyone bought into it 110%, that's not interesting, you know?
Yeah, we're
like,
not doing a speed run.
Right. Like, it's, you know, real people would react that way. And I think you did a really nice job of, you know, balancing that out, but also, like, not choosing that as the hill to die on, right? Like, Roy was hesitant and pushed back, but then he's like, okay, fine, let's dig up this fucking grave because I guess that's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I think it was realistic and I think it worked well.
Plus, we needed something to balance off Grace, who would just like run after anything.
There's a child charge. Yeah.
And Derek, who would just sit around taking notes and just talking about stuff all the time.
Oh my God, ghosts.
Yeah, it worked out. And then just also, I don't know, another thing I'm going to try to work on is like, Derek and Grace had a really good and interesting relationship to build on.
Yeah.
And I just kind of ended up tacking onto that, just kind of being a middleman / not participating.
We had one in the prom scene, though, at the beginning of episode 2.
Yeah, we had a minute or two.
Yeah,
but-
and I also
So it was there.
Yeah.
But
I also think it's okay to not feel like you have to be the protagonist because, like, if like Derek and Grace were both very strong characters, and like naturally, I think every story has like moments where different characters are going to shine, and a lot of it was Grace and Derek because just, you know, Grace is very empathetic and there's a kid, and Derek is all about ghosts and it's dread. But without Roy, it wouldn't have been a story. It would have been, let's go through Marissa's bullet points and not have anything else happen, you know?
I've played in games where everyone just is like, oh yeah, all in on this thing, and it sucks because then it does feel like a speed run. And it also, I think you said it, Marissa, there isn't a story. It's like, okay, cool. Dread took 15 minutes because everyone was just, yep, we're just going to run through and yeah. Oh, the ghost wants us to do that. Let's do it.
Yeah. And I think like Roy was really good at keeping like the meta-ness out of it because like we know we're in a horror podcast. Our characters shouldn't.
okay, I'm gonna change the subject
Please
a little
do.
bit.
Thwack.
Okay. On Grace's character sheet, one of the questions that I actually did not end up answering, it was an optional one, was that my character had stolen something from one of the other characters. What was it?
Ooh.
And so I didn't answer it because I literally just couldn't even think of anything good. And so I'm just wondering what your motivation was behind putting that question on my character sheet and where you were going to take that.
That was just to give me more ammo against you guys.
Okay.
Like, I gave you guys ammo against me, right? You know, like Derek had the Ouija board, which lets you basically talk to ghosts for free. You had your fanny pack where it's like, yeah, of course,
Latex gloves.
of course there is. Fuck you and your pulls, you know? So, I originally had planned, because Colin could do poltergeist shit. Originally, it would have been like, if you had that on you, that would have come out, or something like that, or it would have come out at prom, or it would have just been another source of tension between you and somebody else, or
Because Derek and Grace definitely needed more tension.
oh yeah. But you know, like you guys did that on your own, which I thought was really interesting.
That's really fun,
It was
actually.
fun.
I enjoyed it.
Because I like you so much in real life, so it was interesting to play a character who was like not as keen.
Yeah, no, it was very fun playing the space of someone who was like just grumpy.
Yeah, like we never
and
fight. Like we're all, when we get together, it's like, you're smiling, I'm gonna smile too. Like let's do stupid stuff to make each other smile.
Yeah,
Like,
it was very fun playing someone who was like irritated and like coming to grips with stuff. I thought that was I enjoyed that experience a lot.
But yeah, anything you want to speak to about your characters before we transition into this thing that we have to eat?
I'm horrified by the smell.
It's scary.
It's fine.
It kind of came out that my phone was broken. That was one of the questions on my sheet, was why my phone was broken and stuff. And I felt kind of bad when it was like, oh, do you have a phone? I was like, oh yeah, I have this prop I was given that maybe should have
That's okay.
been more a part of the story.
It's some of the questions. I'm really bad at coming up with questionnaires, but like,
no, they were very good.
that was just to make you like think about, hey, you have a phone, maybe use it. But again, that's something you guys did anyway. So it's all like never think of
good
your
millennials we are.
Oh, excellent. But like never think of like the sheets as like boxes you need to check, because that's not how, I don't think the game's interesting that way. Like really the only box that I would have been fucked if it hadn't been used was the Ouija board. Which I expected you to use much earlier than you did.
Can I interrupt the podcast?
Yes,
with
please do.
a great fun segment
Yeah.
called Things Jacob Cut Out of the Podcast but really wants to share anyway?
Yeah.
Because it's very related to this.
That is 100% a segment for the. Can that be just like a breakfast
Yes.
segment?
I hope so.
Yes.
I feel like there will probably be enough of these.
Oh no.
But all right.
Tell us
I'm
our
nervous.
sins.
I've got, because I pulled a lot for our terrible promo, I've got a whole file of that stuff. Most of it's in the promo, but this one in particular I found today.
Thank you for playing with the Ouija board. I was scared that you wouldn't, and then I would have been sad.
Oh God.
Okay, can you give that to Eli and do a fun remix of that? That's just that, but a song.
Absolutely not.
I mean, it's already a song.
I want like a little do 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 kind of like trumpet going in the background
With like a MIDI instrument.
Yeah.
Like,
or get like and then like we can do the Skrillex remix of it where we turn it into like a trap
my
song.
God.
Like, thank you for playing with the Ouija board.
I hate that.
This has been stuff Jacob cut out of the podcast, but really wants to make sure we share anyway. Thank you for
Beautiful.
listening.
Thank you for that blackmail. It's a great segment. Speaking of segments, though, Christine, you've brought something for us today.
Yes, I have. And now it's time for Christine's Kitchen, the part of the show where Christine makes something absurd and potentially cursed and requires everyone to taste it and tell her nice things about it.
The part of the show where Larry comes out and sings a silly song.
Thank you. Okay. Recently, I have been very into Korean food, and kimchi is a staple of Korean food. It is a wonderful, spicy, fermented cabbage side dish, but also can be incorporated into many other things such as kimchi stews, kimchi pancake, kimchi fried rice. It's wonderful. And so in my brain, I went to a place where I was wondering, I wonder if I could take this spicy fermented thing and make it into ice cream.
Whoa!
I love ice cream.
I do too,
so
and I might
much.
have ruined it. But I was thinking in my head, I was like, okay, you know how like spicy is offset by dairy, and so I was like, maybe this will be nice. I don't know. I may have just made something horrible. But here we go. We're going to try it.
I was thinking that you were saying that like, have you ever had milk? Have you ever been drinking a glass of milk, dear audience? And then just wanted, but what if this had sriracha in it? Like,
It does kind of have the color of sriracha and or cat vomit a little bit. It's a nice orange pastel.
this is a cursed corner, right? This one is cursed.
This smells not great.
And you're gonna feed it to us?
Have you tasted this yet?
I tasted the base, which did not have pieces of kimchi in it. I added that like when it was at the soft serve phase of churning.
Oh, that one has a big chonkers of it. Look at it.
The base was crazy.
No. I don't know if that's good or not.
No, I know. It was like,
No, I know I'm being ambiguous.
yeah, it was crazy because like I tasted it and like the first thing that came out was I used this recipe for a honey kimchi dipping sauce as like kind of the inspiration for like how to turn this into a somewhat palatable ice cream flavor. And so the first thing that you taste is like a honey ice cream, and then the spice just kind of like hangs out in the back on your palate, and it's like pretty interesting. But
That's pretty good.
I also like, I didn't taste it with the pieces of cabbage, so that could change it entirely. So we shall see. Also, I'm really hoping that this is like properly frozen and not like icy or something.
I will say, if the texture is a little bit off, I don't think that's the first thing my mind is going to do. I can tell when that's in my kind of zone.
The texture of this cabbage ice cream was just not on point. Everything else was great. But
No, but you know when ice cream's like icy and not like properly churned? Because I forgot to add the like pieces of cabbage and then was like, oh shoot, I have to put it back in. So I had to like pull it out of the freezer, and then it was like taking time, and it was like starting to melt, and it was soupier, and I should have put it back in the churner, but then I freaked out and I just put it in the freezer.
I would like to ask, how long was this let's say aging in your freezer before we taste it?
Okay, so I put it in like a week ago. But think about it. Think about how long it takes for like Ben & Jerry's from when it gets
From
put
Mr. Ben
into...
and Jerry?
Yes.
Ben and Jerry's cabbage ice cream. It's my favorite.
Think about how long it takes Ben and Jerry's.
To like any ice cream, when it gets put into the package and then it has... Yeah. Oh, that's a package.
Okay. That's fair.
And then it has to go to the grocery store, and then it has to get stocked in the grocery store, and then you have to purchase it, and then you bring it home. And so, like, there's time. So, like, I don't know. It's probably fine. Here you go.
So I'm going to stall by asking another question.
Okay.
If Ben & Jerry's were to pick up on this really great patent, what like catchy name would they use for cabbage ice cream?
The kimchi clutch.
Kimchi clutch is very good. Fob, I notice you don't have ice cream in front of you, and that's a betrayal.
You stole my ice cream.
I wanted the tiny blue.
Here, please take your hellscape spoon.
Can we unpack the smell for a minute, though?
Please don't.
Because it's wild.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Actually, I can gel with this. Will I have another scoop? No.
So it tastes like kimchi. So great job.
I think for next time, no kimchi
There's
bits.
a next time?
No, I actually really like because it's ice cream but spicy, which is
Spice cream. It's spice cream.
Spice cream is very good for branding.
I feel like there's something there, but maybe if you flip the spicy sweet, where it's a little more sweet, and the spice is the little more of the background note.
So that's interesting because did you have the kimchi in the bite, like the piece?
I think so.
So try just the ice cream without like the bit, because then
I'm
it will
okay.
be switched.
I'm good.
Jacob doesn't want to try again.
Yeah, no, I'm eating around the little chunks in here, and it's actually really good. Well, that's a bit of a hyperbolic statement. It's
For what it is.
for what it is, it's pretty great.
palatable. Might be the term you're looking
the
for.
bits just like take me from like Dairy Queen to like Korean restaurant in a whiplash of a millisecond that I guess is very unique and good.
I actually like it. I would eat this as this. I lied when I said that I would not have a second scoop. I will have a second
Really?
scoop. Not right now, but later, yeah. Like this is, I will have Jacob's scoop.
And Christine, I would like to commend you on this accomplishment.
I would like to include a disclaimer. As I'm making this kimchi ice cream, I'm trying very hard to, I'm thinking a lot about how to interact with other cultures and learn about other cultures and share my excitement for learning about other cultures respectfully. I like freaked out to Fabrice about it the other day.
No, you're fine.
And I feel like also, like I've had experience living in another country. Granted, it was a Western country, but...
Are we not saying the country because we don't want to plug them?
Oh, no, I was in France.
Let's not plug France. Let's not plug France.
What's wrong with France?
France doesn't need
What do
any
you got
more.
against France, Fabrice?
They have enough press. They don't need more from us.
What is wrong with you?
So much.
Just trying to be respectful here.
I'm just trying to be stupid. I'm succeeding, I think.
I think you're both succeeding, honestly. I think the engagement with the culture and like the food is like really endearing because it takes just like emulation up to like a new level of like, oh, I love this thing. Let's experiment and never do it again.
All right, on a scale from 1 to 10, no, on a scale from 1 to 5 cabbages, how would you rate this kimchi ice cream?
3.5. solid 3.5 cabbages.
That good.
I actually really I did not dislike it. Would I want a lot more?
I was just gonna say, do you want to take it home?
No. Would I want? Well, it could be fun to torture my family with.
I want to experiment and see if I can melt it and strain out the pieces and then return it.
Okay, I'd try, because I think without the cabbage, you have something that's much better.
I knew as I was adding it, I was like, I think I'm ruining this. I should have just not put it in.
But that was really interesting and really different and not something that I'm used to at all. It was very good. Big fan.
Jacob.
2 cabbages? It's definitely got potential, and I'm glad I experienced it. But I don't want to eat any more.
Fair. Marissa.
I would also give it 2 cabbages with a splash of a chai tea latte, because I did enjoy the chai adjacent spice to it.
Yes. That is one thing that, especially when I was tasting the base with the honey, it's like a weird chai latte.
Yes. So I'm very glad, seconding Jacob's opinion. Loved that we shared this experience.
I have a question just that I think maybe our audience also has. What the heck does a chai tea latte add to the cabbage scale?
Moisture?
That's not a good thing.
No one's going to listen to our podcast if you use that word.
Moist?
It doesn't bother me, but
I'm fine with it.
other people are bothered.
Slightly wet?
Damn.
It's all gravy, baby. So the chai latte, I mean, when I first tasted the base, it was insane. And the only thing that my brain could associate it with to make sense of what I was tasting was how when you taste a chai latte, initially there's the sweet and then there's the spice of the cardamom and the cinnamon and whatever else is in there. But then it went to a higher spectrum of spice because there's actual chili in it.
Yeah, it definitely took a pivot, but I don't hate it. It's just a lot.
Crazy.
Yes, I need to sit with it, meditate on it, really accept the kimchi ice cream into my life, and then I'll be ready to try it again.
I think also not having the pieces of cabbage in it will help with the smell.
Yeah, because it's
pretty bad.
Not great.
It's pretty not great. Because regular kimchi is fine. I think this one was kind of old.
Well, you buried the lead a little bit on that.
Okay, well, isn't old kimchi just better kimchi?
To a point. There's a curve to it.
Maggie, we can hear you in our...
Hi, Maggie.
Welcome to the podcast, Maggie.
Would you like to try some cursed ice cream?
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Please
Maggie,
try the
wait,
cursed
Maggie,
ice
the
cream.
cursed ice cream.
Maggie, we need
Grab
you
a
to try
spoon.
this.
Grab a spoon.
Grab a spoon and use my mic.
Preferably
Oh
a
my
very
gosh.
large spoon.
Oh my gosh, she's gonna do it.
And then we need your reactions in this mic, please.
Don't smell it. Just eat it.
Why would you say that?
Preface that.
I just... Trying to be honest. Oh gosh.
It tastes like kind of ketchup. But also now just onions.
Yes.
That's accurate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you able to identify what this is?
Well, I already heard you say kimchi.
Oh, okay.
So kind of now it's spicy.
You don't have to finish it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You can.
I will not.
You can exit. How many cabbages would you give that out of 1 to 5 cabbages?
Oh, cabbages? I feel like if you're rating it in cabbages, it'd be pretty high at a 4.
4 cat. Wow.
That's the highest
cabbages.
rating. Yeah.
But anything else, it'd probably be low.
Do you not like cabbage?
I mean, I do like cabbage, but I feel
And you would give it
rating
4
things in
cabbages?
cabbage is very different than rating them in stars. It's a very different scale.
Breeze is losing it.
It's very different.
Thank you for joining us.
That's my sister Maggie, everybody. Yay!
Thank you, friend of the show, Maggie.
So, is this cursed or is it not cursed?
This one was cursed.
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 Yes.
Cursed.
Cursed
All right.
ice cream.
Definitely cursed. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode.
This week's episode.
That's staying in.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Kitchen Corner. Christine's Corner.
Kitchen.
Christine's Kitchen. I'm having a stroke. Tune in next time when I might poison my friends.
Oh no.
Thwack.
Thank you so much for listening to Dread and Breakfast today. We'd like to thank Eli Schneider for our theme song and original music. Additional music is credited in the episode notes.
You can follow us on Instagram at DandBpod. We're on Twitter at DreadAndBfast. Or you could visit our shiny new website at dandbpod.com.
We would really, really appreciate it if you could take a second to review us on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars and tell us your favorite breakfast food.
Our next story is coming soon, but unfortunately, the goblins who do all of our work for us have currently been trying to unionize, and negotiations are messy. But you can stay tuned to our social media for updates about when that story will be available.
And that's a spicy podcast.
Stupid.